Sir, this isn't the kind of place you can just walk into. The hotel receptionist sneered, her eyes scanning the black man standing confidently in front of the polished marble counter, despite his calm demeanor and the reservation confirmation he held out. She barely glanced at the paper, around the grand lobby of the Chandler Regency. Whispers started to ripple through the elegantly dressed crowd. He wore a simple charcoal gray polo and dark slacks. Clean, but understated. Not the attire the staff associated with the guests who typically graced the presidential suite. Behind the desk, the hotel director, Richard Cole, approached. His tailored navy suit and silver cufflinks gleaming under the chandelier's soft glow. "Is there a problem here, Madison?" he asked, though his sharp eyes were already sizing up the guest. "He claims he has a booking for the presidential suite." "Sir," Madison replied, her tone dripping with condescension. "Claims?" Richard raised an eyebrow and turned to the man. "Sir, the presidential suite requires a minimum 3-week advance booking, plus a verified credit profile. I'm afraid I do have a booking. Here's my confirmation." The man interrupted politely. Holding out the printed email, Richard didn't even reach for it. "That won't be necessary. We don't take walk-ins for that level of accommodation. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at one of our affiliate hotels downtown." His words were coated with false courtesy, the kind that was more insulting than a direct refusal. The man's name was Derek Owens. What they didn't know, what none of them cared to check, was that he wasn't just a guest. He was the recently appointed chairman of Owens Global Holdings, a conglomerate that had, just weeks ago, quietly finalized a controlling stake in the Chandler hotel chain. "Sir, I assure you, this is not a misunderstanding." Derek tried once more, his voice steady. "I made this reservation months ago. Could you please verify it in your system?" By now, several guests had gathered nearby. Sensing drama, a few were recording discreetly on their phones. A white couple lounging near the fireplace exchanged smirks. The woman whispered loudly enough for those nearby to hear. "He must be lost. Presidential suite, please." Madison crossed her arms. As the director mentioned, "Sir, we cannot accept unverified guests for our premium suites." "Security?" 2 uniformed guards appeared almost instantly, their expressions blank, but their posture firm. "Escort this gentleman out. Please, we can't have disruptions in the lobby," Richard ordered. "This is absurd," Derek said, standing his ground. "I am not leaving. You are making a serious mistake." "No, sir, you are," Richard snapped, the facade of politeness dropping. "We maintain a standard here. You should have known better." The guards flanked Derek, their presence drawing even more attention from the guests scattered across the lobby. Some looked on with curiosity, others with silent approval. One elderly man muttered, "About time they keep standards high around here." A few others chuckled. "Please don't make a scene," Madison added smugly, as if Derek's very presence was an inconvenience. "Scene?" Derek's brow furrowed. "I didn't create a scene. You did when you judged me without even checking my credentials." But it didn't matter. The guards lightly touched Derek's arms, urging him toward the revolving doors. The cold spring air outside was a stark contrast to the warmth and the disdain he'd just experienced inside. As he stepped out onto the sidewalk, Derek paused, glancing back through the tall glass windows. Madison had already returned to her desk. Richard was speaking in hushed tones to another staff member, and the gathered guests had begun dispersing. Their brief entertainment concluded. Derek pulled out his phone. His calm expression didn't waver as he dialed a number. "Mason? It's Derek. I'm going to need the legal and HR teams at the Chandler Regency in 30 minutes. Oh, and have the PR director draft a statement, effective immediately." "Yes, sir," came the reply without hesitation. "Also, send a team to the lobby. Bring the shareholder documents. It's time they remember who actually owns this hotel." He ended the call and slipped the phone back into his pocket. The revolving doors spun silently behind him, oblivious to the storm about to return. Inside, Madison was already telling a colleague, "I can't believe the nerve of some people, thinking money can buy class." Little did she know, money hadn't bought class, but it had bought ownership, and that ownership was about to cost her and the hotel director far more than their pride. As the heavy glass doors closed behind Derek Owens, the cool breeze did little to chill the quiet fire building inside him. The humiliation he had just endured wasn't just a slight against his pride. It was a blatant reminder of why he had built his empire in the first place, to ensure that men like Richard Cole and Madison Reed would never again assume that wealth, intelligence, or dignity came with a specific skin color or dress code. Standing on the sidewalk, Derek glanced at his phone. A notification flashed. Presidential Suite. Chandler Regency. Reservation confirmed. The email, dated 3 months prior, included his full name, the reservation code, and the approved payment receipt. Everything had been handled in advance by his executive assistant. This wasn't an oversight. This was prejudice, clear, unapologetic, and now fully documented. He quickly forwarded the email to his legal counsel, attaching a brief note. "Prepare to reference this. We'll need it shortly." Behind him, inside the lobby, the guards returned to their posts. Madison leaned over the desk, giggling softly with another employee as she recounted the scene. "You should have seen his face," she whispered, like he thought flashing a piece of paper would convince us. Richard, still standing nearby, nodded in agreement. "You handled it professionally. We don't let people like that undermine our standards. If we start bending rules for everyone who claims to have money, this hotel will lose its reputation." His voice carried enough for the front desk team to hear. Their heads nodded in collective approval, none daring to question the assumption. What none of them noticed was a young concierge, Elena, standing silently near the guest elevators. Unlike her colleagues, she had recognized Derek when he first entered, weeks earlier. During her hospitality management training, she had watched a corporate video introducing the new controlling shareholder of Chandler Hotels, Derek Owens. Her instincts told her something was wrong, but fear of retaliation kept her quiet. Outside, Derek's black SUV pulled up, his driver, Marcus, stepping out immediately. "Everything all right, sir?" Marcus asked, concern furrowing his brow. "Not yet," Derek replied calmly, "but it will be." He opened the rear passenger door and retrieved a slim, leather-bound portfolio. Inside were not just the reservation details, but also the official shareholder agreement confirming his ownership stake, documents that were about to become very public. Moments later, his assistant, Chloe Ramirez, arrived with a small team of legal advisors. Chloe, sharp in a tailored navy pantsuit, handed Derek a tablet. "The legal team's ready. HR and PR are on standby. We also have the security footage request prepped. The lobby cameras should confirm everything." "Excellent," Derek said. "Get me the hotel's security chief. I want those recordings preserved before anyone tries to make them disappear." "Already done. He's meeting us inside." Chloe glanced toward the entrance, where a few curious guests still loitered, wondering why black SUVs and professionally dressed individuals were gathering. "And the staff?" Derek asked. "HR has their personnel files ready. Anyone involved in the incident will be reviewed. Madison and Richard will be at the top of the list." "Good," Derek nodded. "This won't just be a lesson for them, it'll be a message to everyone in the industry." Together, they approached the doors as they re-entered the lobby. Derek noticed the shift in the room. The front desk staff's laughter ceased abruptly. Madison's smile faltered as she watched the group approach. "Richard, sensing authority in their stride, straightened his tie and forced a professional grin. "Sir, may I help you?" he asked, though uncertainty laced his words now. "You already did enough?" Derek replied evenly, producing the tablet and sliding it across the counter. "This is the confirmation you refused to review. And this," he gestured to Chloe, who handed over a printed copy of the shareholder agreement, "is proof that I am not just a guest. I am the owner." The color drained from Richard's face. Madison took a step back, her earlier confidence evaporating. "Oh, there must be some misunderstanding," Richard stammered. "If you'd like, we can quickly prepare the presidential suite and offer our sincerest—" "No," Derek interrupted. "The time for apologies has passed. What I want now is accountability." At that moment, the hotel's security chief, Mr. Patel, approached with a tablet of his own. "Mr. Owens, as requested. Here's the security footage from the last hour. It clearly shows the interaction at the front desk. No edits, no gaps." Derek glanced at the screen. There it was, the entire exchange. Madison's dismissive gestures, Richard's refusal to check the documents, the guards escorting him out without cause, multiple guests witnessing the event, several capturing it on their phones. "Perfect." Derek nodded. "Forward this to our legal team and the PR department. If anyone challenges our version of events, we'll have the truth ready to share." He turned back to Richard and Madison, their faces pale and stiff. "Consider this your final day of employment. HR will escort you through the exit procedures. You are both terminated. Effective immediately." The murmurs in the lobby swelled into a wave of whispers. Guests who had once looked on with amusement now watched in stunned silence. "Security," Derek added. "Please ensure they leave the premises respectfully. No further embarrassment is necessary. They've already accomplished enough of that on their own." For a long moment, the lobby of the Chandler Regency fell into a tense, unnatural silence. It was the kind of stillness that comes not from peace, but from the collective breath-holding of those who had just witnessed something profound, something irreversible. Madison and Richard stood frozen. Their once confident postures had collapsed into rigid, defensive stances. Neither spoke, neither could. The weight of Derek Owens's words hung in the air like a thundercloud ready to burst. "Terminated, effective immediately." The words echoed in Madison's mind, repeating louder than the whispers growing around the room. She opened her mouth as if to protest, but no sound came. Richard's lips tightened into a thin, colorless line. His eyes darted around the room, searching for some ally, some authority figure who could overrule the nightmare unfolding in front of him, but he found none. Instead, he saw guests pulling out their phones, some recording, others typing furiously. News traveled fast in the modern world, and this would be no different. "Mr. Owens," Richard finally managed, his voice shaky. "Perhaps we can resolve this without further public attention. I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding. If you'll allow us—" "No," Derek interrupted, his tone unwavering. "What happened today wasn't a misunderstanding. It was the result of deliberate choices, choices to judge, to dismiss, to discriminate. I'm not interested in apologies or negotiations. What I want is accountability." Chloe Ramirez, standing just behind Derek, cleared her throat softly. "Mr. Owens, the legal team has confirmed receipt of the security footage. HR is prepared to proceed with formal termination protocols. Additionally, the PR team is ready to draft an official statement addressing the incident." "Good," Derek replied without taking his eyes off Richard. "We'll need that statement soon. This isn't just about today. It's about setting a standard for the entire industry." Richard's face drained of what little color remained. He had spent his entire career carefully climbing the corporate ladder. cultivating an image of refined hospitality and discretion. And now, it was unraveling, publicly, irreversibly, at the hands of the very guest he had deemed unworthy of even basic respect. "You can't do this," Madison blurted suddenly, the reality of her situation piercing the fog of shock. "We've served this hotel for years. You can't just fire us over a misunderstanding." "I can, and I have," Derek answered firmly. "But let's be clear. This isn't about years of service. This is about a moment of judgment, a moment when you chose to deny service to a paying guest, not because of any legitimate reason, but because of assumptions about who belongs and who doesn't." He gestured toward the tablet displaying the reservation confirmation and the shareholder agreement. "You dismissed me because of how I looked. You never bothered to check the facts, and even when I provided documentation, you doubled down on your prejudice." Madison's eyes filled with tears, not of remorse, but of fear. She glanced at Richard, hoping he might intervene, but he was already defeated. Shoulders slumped, gaze lowered. "Mr. Patel," Derek said, addressing the security chief, "please ensure these two are escorted out respectfully. They will be given time to collect their personal belongings under supervision. Any attempt to tamper with hotel records or intimidate other staff members will result in legal action." "Understood, sir." Mr. Patel nodded as security moved forward. A ripple of movement spread through the lobby. Guests who had once been passive observers now leaned in. Their curiosity piqued. Some whispered among themselves. Others offered quiet nods of approval. A few even applauded softly. The sound hesitant at first, but growing in confidence. "It's about time someone stood up to this," one guest murmured. "Unbelievable. They treated him like a criminal." Another added, Elena, the young concierge who had recognized Derek earlier, watched the scene unfold with a mixture of relief and vindication. She had known something was wrong but hadn't spoken up out of fear. Now, she stepped forward. "Mr. Owens," she said quietly. Derek turned toward her, his expression softening slightly. "Yes? I just wanted to say that I recognized you when you first arrived. I knew you were the new owner. But I was too afraid to say anything. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner." Derek regarded her for a moment before nodding. "It takes courage to speak up, but it also takes wisdom to know when to do so. You've shown both today." He glanced at Chloe. "Make a note. I want Elena promoted to guest services supervisor, effective immediately." Elena's eyes widened. "Thank you. Sir, I won't let you down." "I know you won't," Derek replied. Meanwhile, Richard and Madison were quietly escorted toward the staff exit. Madison's sobs echoed faintly across the lobby, blending with the low hum of conversation that had resumed among the guests. Richard kept his head down, the weight of humiliation pressing heavily on his shoulders. Once they were gone, Derek turned back to Chloe. "Let's proceed with the internal review. I want every department assessed for similar issues. If this happened at the front desk, it could be happening elsewhere." "Already in motion, sir," Chloe confirmed. "And the PR statement?" "Release it," Derek instructed. "Transparency is key. We won't hide this incident. We'll acknowledge it and outline the steps we're taking to ensure it never happens again." Minutes later, the hotel's official social media accounts and press contacts received a carefully crafted statement. Earlier today, an incident occurred at Chandler Regency that does not reflect the values or policies of our organization. Discriminatory actions were taken against a valued guest and majority shareholder, Mr. Derek Owens. The individuals responsible have been terminated. We are conducting a full review to prevent future occurrences and reaffirm our commitment to diversity, respect, and accountability. We apologize to Mr. Owens and to all who witnessed this event. As the statement spread across platforms, Reactions poured in. Some criticized the hotel for allowing the incident to happen at all. Others praised the swift and decisive action taken by Derek Owens. This is how real leadership looks. One commenter wrote, "Accountability matters. Kudos to Mr. Ayar Owens for not letting this slide." Another added, "Within an hour, major news outlets picked up the story. Headlines blazed across screens and feeds. Hotel director fired after racial profiling incident at Chandler Regency. Black CEO faces discrimination. Responds with swift terminations. Industry leader takes a stand against workplace bias." By the end of the day, the story had gone viral. Hospitality forums, diversity advocates, and even celebrity figures weighed in. The message was clear. Discrimination would no longer be met with quiet resignation, but with bold, public accountability. Back at the hotel, Derek stood in the center of the lobby. The grandeur of the chandeliers, the marble floors, the gold accents. None of it mattered as much as the principle that had just been defended. "Mr. Owens," Chloe said, approaching him once more. "Media outlets are requesting interviews. Would you like to issue a personal statement?" Derek considered the question. He could have taken the opportunity to lambaste Richard and Madison publicly. He could have vented the anger and frustration that had simmered beneath his calm exterior all day, but he chose a different path. "Yes," he nodded. "Tell them this. Respect should never be judged by appearance. It should be given freely until there's a reason not to. Today, we upheld that principle, and tomorrow, we'll continue to do so." Chloe smiled. "I'll pass it along." As she walked away, Derek took one last glance around the lobby. The faces had changed. Some of the staff now wore expressions of newfound respect. Others, perhaps, fear. But most importantly, there was a sense of awareness, a collective realization that the rules had changed. The era of silent suffering was over. The era of accountability had begun. As the afternoon sun dipped lower, casting long beams of golden light through the tall glass windows of the Chandler Regency's lobby, the ripples of the morning's events continued to spread like waves in still water. The news had gone public. The videos captured by onlookers had gone viral. Derek Owens's decisive actions were now not only company policy, they had become a public statement, a declaration of what leadership and accountability truly looked like. Within an hour of the official statement's release, the hotel's phone lines had flooded with calls. Some were reporters seeking further comment. Others were guests offering support or canceling their reservations in protest of what had happened. But more than a few were corporate leaders and civil rights advocates calling to praise Derek's unwavering stance. Inside the hotel, however, the atmosphere was tense and heavy. Staff huddled in quiet corners, whispering anxiously about what might happen next. Richard and Madison's abrupt dismissal had sent shockwaves through the ranks. Those who had once laughed or nodded along with Madison's condescending remarks now wondered if they might be next. In the executive office suite, Derek convened with Chloe, Mr. Patel, and the head of human resources, Gloria Sanders, a poised woman known for both her empathy and her no-nonsense approach to workplace misconduct. "The review has been completed. Mr. Owens," Gloria reported, "we've identified 7 additional staff members who either encouraged the discrimination this morning or failed to intervene when they had the opportunity." Derek nodded, unsurprised but disappointed. "Name them." Gloria read the list. Several front desk clerks, a supervisor from the housekeeping department who had laughed at Madison's comments, even a mid-level manager who had been caught on security footage smirking as Derek was escorted out. "Were there any staff who spoke up or attempted to de-escalate the situation?" Derek asked. "Yes," Gloria replied, glancing at her notes. "Elena, the concierge you promoted, attempted to intervene discreetly, Two bellhops expressed concern to security but were dismissed, and Mr. Patel's team conducted themselves professionally throughout. Good, Derek said. Those individuals should be formally commended. I want it noted in their personnel files and reflected in their compensation reviews. Gloria smiled slightly. I'll see to it personally. Now, Derek continued, his tone firm. The others, the ones who either contributed to the problem or stood by silently, what does policy recommend? Given the severity and the fact that this wasn't a first offense for some, termination is advised. We've also consulted legal, and they agree the firings are justified and pose minimal liability risk. Then proceed, Derek instructed. But do it respectfully. This isn't about revenge. It's about setting a clear, professional standard. Let them know their actions, or their inaction, have consequences. Gloria gathered her files and departed to carry out the directives. As she left, Chloe leaned forward. Mr. Owens, the media response has been overwhelmingly positive. Several advocacy groups are requesting to speak with you about establishing industry-wide diversity training programs. That's promising, Derek replied. But first, we finish cleaning house here. Downstairs, Gloria and HR representatives met individually with the employees identified in the review. Each was presented with the evidence, security footage, witness statements, and, in some cases, their own recorded remarks from staff communications. No one could claim ignorance. No one could claim surprise. The dismissals were professional but firm. Each employee was escorted to gather their personal belongings and then shown the exit, not with the indignity some might have expected, but with the solemnity of a final consequence delivered without malice. For some, it was a sobering moment. A few broke down in tears, realizing too late the cost of their casual cruelty. Others left angrily, blaming everyone but themselves. Yet even they could not deny that the environment they had helped foster no longer had a place within the Chandler Regency, or anywhere in Derek Owens's growing empire. By late afternoon, the lobby had quieted. The toxic undercurrent that had once flowed beneath the polished surface was gone. In its place was a cautious, watchful calm. Derek stood at the edge of the reception area. Observing the transition, he watched as Elena, now wearing the gold nameplate of a supervisor, trained a new front desk clerk. He saw Mr. Patel coordinating with the remaining security staff, ensuring that future incidents would be handled differently, and he noted the guests, some returning, others checking in, being greeted not with judgment, but with genuine hospitality. This is what it should have been from the start, Derek murmured to himself. Chloe joined him, tablet in hand. The board has expressed full support for your actions today. They've also approved your proposal to implement mandatory bias and diversity training across all Chandler properties, not just this hotel. Excellent, Derek said. Make sure the trainers are top tier. This can't be a box-checking exercise. It needs to change how people think, not just how they act. Already vetted and scheduled, Chloe confirmed. At that moment, the hotel's regional vice president, Paul Reynolds, approached, his demeanor both respectful and contrite. Mr. Owens, Paul began, on behalf of the corporate leadership, I want to apologize personally for what happened today. It was unacceptable, and I want to commend you for addressing it so decisively. Thank you, Paul, Derek replied. But let's be clear, this isn't just about today. This was a systemic failure. It happened because the wrong culture was allowed to take root. Our job now is to make sure it can't grow back. Paul nodded solemnly. Understood, and for what it's worth. I've tendered my resignation effective at the end of the fiscal quarter. I take responsibility for not catching these issues sooner. Derek studied the man for a moment before shaking his head. I appreciate your accountability, Paul, but resignation isn't the solution here. I need experienced leaders who are willing to own the mistakes of the past and be part of the solution moving forward. Stay. Help me fix this. Paul's eyes widened slightly. Relief mixing with renewed purpose. I won't let you down. See that you don't, Derek said with a rare smile. By evening, a quiet transformation had taken hold. The staff who remained had been briefed on new expectations and policies. Guests who had witnessed the morning's events were now sharing positive experiences on social media, praising not just the swift justice, but the transparency and commitment to change. The Chandler Regency, once a symbol of silent, polished exclusivity, was becoming something more meaningful. A place where respect was not just a marketing slogan, but a living, enforceable standard. Derek paused near the main entrance, watching as a family, an interracial couple with 2 young children, checked in at the front desk. Elena greeted them warmly, her posture confident, her tone sincere. There was no hesitation, no judgment, only professionalism. This, Derek thought, is the beginning of the legacy I wanted. Outside, the city moved on as it always did, unaware that within the walls of the Chandler Regency, a quiet revolution had taken place. One not just of leadership, but of values, of accountability, of hope. And for the first time that day, Derek allowed himself a deep, steady breath, not because the battle was over, but because it had finally, truly begun. In the days following the firings, the Chandler Regency underwent not just a change in personnel, but a change in philosophy. Derek Owens knew from experience that dismissing a few employees, even those in leadership, was never enough. True change required rebuilding the very foundation of the workplace culture. The first step was immediate and visible. Large, framed signs were placed at every entrance and in the lobby, engraved with a simple statement: respect is the standard. Discrimination will never be tolerated. Under Derek's leadership, Chloe and Gloria launched the Chandler Diversity and Inclusion Initiative, CDII, a comprehensive program designed not only to prevent future incidents, but to promote understanding, empathy, and accountability throughout the hotel's operations. Mandatory bias and diversity training was introduced, not as a routine corporate checkbox, but as an immersive educational experience. Leading experts from the hospitality industry and civil rights organizations were brought in. Training sessions didn't just cover legal obligations, but also explored the real-world consequences of implicit bias, microaggressions, and systemic prejudice. Staff were encouraged to share their experiences, both as bystanders and as individuals who had faced bias themselves. For the first time, employees at all levels felt empowered to speak openly about issues that had long been whispered about, but rarely addressed. Elena, now officially guest services supervisor, became one of the program's strongest voices. She shared how fear had initially kept her silent when Derek was mistreated, but how that silence had fueled her determination to be part of the solution. Her courage inspired others to step forward, and her leadership helped rebuild trust between the staff and the hotel's management. Derek also implemented an anonymous reporting system. Employees could now safely report discriminatory behavior or unethical practices without fear of retaliation. Regular feedback meetings ensured that concerns were addressed swiftly and transparently. The impact was almost immediate. Guests began noticing the difference, not just in how they were treated, but in the atmosphere itself. The staff's interactions were no longer stiff or superficial. They were genuine, personalized. Guests of all backgrounds were welcomed with the same respect and warmth. Regardless of appearance or perceived status, reviews on travel platforms reflected the change. This hotel has become a model of true hospitality and inclusion. I've never felt more respected or valued as a guest. Kudos to the leadership for taking real action, not just issuing apologies. Derek monitored these developments closely, but he didn't stop there. The The Chandler Regency was just one property. His vision was larger. 2 weeks after the incident, he convened a meeting with the board and proposed a bold new strategy: expand the Chandler Diversity and Inclusion Initiative to every property in the Chandler Hotel's portfolio. If we can transform this flagship location, Derek explained, we can set a precedent for the entire hospitality industry. Discrimination isn't just a social issue, it's a business liability. Inclusive environments attract top talent, loyal customers, and positive public engagement. The board, still riding the wave of positive media coverage and public support, unanimously approved the expansion, but Derek wasn't finished. He identified another property within the portfolio, a luxury resort in Florida that had recently faced customer complaints about poor service and subtle discriminatory practices. Rather than hiding these issues, Derek chose transparency. We will use this as our second case study, he told Chloe and Gloria. If we can turn around a property already struggling with bias complaints, it will prove our approach works everywhere, not just where the spotlight is brightest. Within a month, the Florida resort underwent the same transformation. The CDII was implemented. Staff were retrained. Problematic employees were replaced or rehabilitated, and a new standard of hospitality was enforced. Once again, results came quickly. Guest satisfaction scores improved. Employee morale increased. Positive media attention followed. The success of both properties soon caught the attention of industry leaders and organizations dedicated to promoting diversity and inclusion in business. Chandler Hotels received multiple awards and became a case study at hospitality conferences and business schools. But for Derek Owens, the accolades were secondary. His real reward came not from trophies or headlines, but from walking through his hotels and seeing guests treated with dignity and staff working with pride and purpose. One afternoon, back at the Chandler Regency, Derek stood by the lobby entrance. Elena approached, accompanied by a new hire, a young man named Tyler, recently promoted from bellhop to front desk associate. Mr. Owens, Elena said. Tyler wanted to meet you. He just completed the CDII training and has already been recognized twice for outstanding guest service. Tyler, visibly nervous, extended his hand. It's an honor. Sir, I just want to say thank you. This hotel, it's different now. People believe in the work we're doing, and I do too. Derek shook his hand firmly. No. Tyler, thank you. This change wouldn't be possible without staff like you who are willing to embrace a better way of doing things. As Derek watched the young man return to his duties, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction, not because the work was done, it would never truly be done, but because the change he had once dreamed of was now living and breathing within the very walls where he had once been dismissed and disrespected. The Chandler Regency was no longer just a luxury hotel. It had become a beacon of progress, and soon, more would follow. Months had passed since that pivotal day at the Chandler Regency. But for Derek Owens, the memory remained as sharp as ever, not because of the humiliation he had suffered, but because of what had followed, the transformation, the accountability, and the message that had resonated far beyond the walls of a single hotel, standing once again in the grand lobby. Derek took a slow breath. The chandeliers above sparkled as they always had, casting elegant light across the marble floors. But the atmosphere had changed. There was a warmth now, an energy that reflected not just wealth, but respect. Guests of every background moved comfortably through the space. Staff greeted them with sincerity, not superficial politeness, and the quiet judgment that once lingered in the corners was gone. Elena approached, clipboard in hand, her posture confident but relaxed. Mr. Owens, the final review from the Florida resort just came in. Guest satisfaction and employee retention have both surpassed projections. The CDII program is being requested by other hotel groups for consultation. Excellent, Derek replied, offering her a proud smile. You've done well. Elena, better than well. She blushed slightly but stood her ground. We all have. Sir, you gave us the chance to become something better, not just employees, but advocates for change. At that moment, Chloe joined them, her phone in hand. Media outlets are still requesting interviews. They want to discuss how Chandler Hotels became a leader in diversity and inclusion. Derek shook his head gently. I think we've said enough to the media. Let our actions speak now. That's what people remember, not press releases, but the experiences they have when they walk through these doors. He paused, looking out over the lobby where Tyler, the young front desk associate, was expertly assisting a family checking in. The children laughed. The parents smiled. And Tyler's professionalism and kindness were genuine. That's the real story, Derek added softly. Every day, every guest, every employee, that's where the change lives. Chloe nodded in agreement. As the afternoon sun streamed through the towering windows, Derek reflected on how far they had come. What had started as a moment of personal humiliation had sparked a movement within his own company. It had proven that no one, no matter how high their position or how small their role, should be judged by appearance, nor should they tolerate such judgment in others. He thought back to Madison and Richard. Their departures had been necessary, but they were not villains in a story. They were cautionary examples of what happens when bias goes unchecked. Derek hoped they, too, had learned and grown, though he knew that was beyond his control. Mr. Owens, Elena asked quietly, if I may, what would you say was the most important lesson from all this? Derek smiled thoughtfully. That respect must never be assumed or denied based on appearance. It should be extended freely, until someone's actions prove otherwise. And when leadership fails to uphold that principle, it's not enough to apologize. You must act. You must set the standard yourself. Elena nodded, the message sinking deep. Derek glanced around once more. The hotel had changed. The people had changed. And he had, too. But his mission remained the same. Let's keep moving forward, he said. The work isn't finished. It never is. And with that, he turned toward the future, not as a man who had once been denied entry, but as the one who had opened the door for others. If this story resonated with you, please like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe.